I want to give you a quick update. This here, as the title of the talk shows, the state of iGuide. And I'm presenting this, of course, on behalf of an amazing team. Last year, we conducted a smaller scale meeting in Chicago around the same time. And on the right side, a couple of pictures about some group meetings at Illinois, especially the bottom right. There is a group of fantastic undergraduate students, which is also a critical component of a project like iGuide. And we are so lucky we did not organize this meeting last week here. This is just a fresh and a pressing call for climate and sustainability solutions. The tremendous challenges we're facing. And this exactly is a key motivation for us. We're facing so many challenges that are not necessarily solvable by any individual scientific fields or research domains. And they're increasingly dependent on the convergence among different scientific paradigms, such as analysis, observation, and modeling. And there, in turn, is dependent on the combination of a variety of geospatial data and associated capabilities to seek solutions. And the idea of a convergence means the integration of knowledge, methods, and expertise from different disciplines and forming novel frameworks to catalyze scientific discovery and innovation. So this term originated from the biological science community, but really got popularized by NSF, as you saw a series of reports here, but also funding program, and certainly projects and initiatives. And the iGuide is funded by the NSF through their Harnessing the Data Revolution Big Idea Initiative. So iGuide is one of the 5 such centers funded by NSF. We are focusing on harnessing the geospatial data revolution. We have 11 collaborating institutions, and the center's headquartered at UIUC, and Columbia is a collaborating institution, and we're running our iGuide forum here. And my special thanks to Columbia colleagues and the staff here to making all this happen, and certainly all the thanks going to the colleagues from these institutions. As I was alluded to, we're combining a variety of disciplines for tackling the kind of challenges we mentioned a moment ago. Really requires the combination of expertise from such diverse disciplines cutting across natural and social science and technical domains. And our vision for iGuide is digital discovery and innovation through harnessing the geospatial data revolution. And the mission is to transform convergence and geospatial sciences for holistic sustainability solutions. How are we achieving such vision and mission? We have 6 key components of the Institute, pursuing a collection of convergence science catalysts enabled by cutting-edge geospatial artificial intelligence and data science approaches, supported by advanced cyber infrastructure capabilities and services. We're also conducting a variety of education and workforce development programs, engaging diverse partners, and we're rigorously evaluating what we do and also engage knowledge transfer with the broader communities. And of course, the opportunity and challenges about how to bring all these components together in a holistic manner. And we have 3 core approaches: map, connect, and discover. And our argument and hypothesis is these approaches help us to address sustainability challenges, broadly speaking, from this integrative perspective. And the argument also is that geospatial is a key bridge to allow us to look at these different challenges holistically. So let me unpack these 3 core approaches one by one, starting with map. And the map approach is really about looking at the intersection and interaction of patterns and processes holistically. And for instance, those of us who are familiar with geospatial science and also the technical capabilities of geographic information systems, we know we are now having really solid support to explore patterns. But we're still having serious limitations about how to bring our understanding about processes to grasp the changes of patterns and what are causing the changes of the patterns. The fundamental understanding that is limited. So the question is, how do we bring together the understanding to address this intersection and interactions between patterns and processes across a variety of geospatial scales? And this needs new understanding and approaches, requires the integration of large data collections and the big compute capabilities to enable the creation of digital twins and also to take advantage of the holistic integration between high-performance computing, big data to knowledge transformation, high-fidelity visualization and visual analytics, and the collaborative problem-solving support. And this was essentially developed in the past a few decades as part of the CyberGS community, and that was enabled by the emergence of spatial cyber infrastructure. This is a special issue co-organized by Don Wright, who's now the chief scientist of Esri, and myself, and edited by Dr. Mike Goodchild. At that time, we were exploring the scientific frontiers enabled by the emergence of spatial cyber infrastructure, in a sense from the natural sciences, social sciences, and even humanities perspective. Fast forward, I think for iGuide, the challenges and opportunities to bring these different scientific frontiers together in a holistic way, cutting across social and natural sciences, addressing the real world challenges, as for instance listed here with a few examples and the topical themes. So the idea is in today's world, there are so many interdependent changes happening across the globe. And oftentimes you have to come up with the local solutions, just like we had to deal with in New York City last week. But at the same time, that local solutions need to be contextualized in a much broader context beyond the local to the region and to the globe. So we'll have opportunities throughout our forum here to go into an array of such challenges and possible ways to develop solutions. And one example I just want to quickly relate you to is this aging dams infrastructure in the United States. And here the map shows the lower 48 states, essentially the distribution of the dams. And there are currently around 92,000 of them, and over 60% of them are falling behind in their maintenance. Now, as you experienced, or you saw the experience from New Yorkers last week, the major flood, the risks we're facing. So how do we fix, for instance, this major infrastructure challenge? Now, the first step is to come up with better understanding of the risks. Within iGuide, we're developing this scalable geospatial data science approach to look at the risk associated with network analysis. Remember, we're not looking at just a single dam, but we're looking at broader scale challenges faced by a number of dams really behind maintenance. And how such risk is manifested through the socioeconomic lens of the society and getting the stakeholders appreciate such risk so that we would be better prepared. So here's a small study looking at the lower 48 states and through hydrological units, as some of you from hydrology would appreciate, but at the same time to intersect with these units to look at the socioeconomic impacts. So there's this perception, for instance, such risks coming from dam failures could be impacting, for instance, socioeconomically vulnerable populations, but where are these populations? In what conditions these populations are getting perhaps more damages or consequences? So that question is what this study is trying to get at. And also, it's not only just the social, economically vulnerable populations, it would be other populations as well, how these populations are distributed, depending on the risks coming from these dams. And these dams are impacted certainly from the climate change trajectory, for which we still need better scientific knowledge. Again, it's this interconnected impact we're hoping to get at, not only just happening at a single dam, but across the country. Why this large-scale analysis is important, because oftentimes the policies are made beyond the local scales. They're impacting, certainly, at the local level. And you see the causes and effects examples on this slide, but at the same time, the flows, right? The people, the infrastructure, and the resources connecting the different parts of a major country like the US, but this could certainly go beyond the US. And we saw examples, not only here, for instance, in New York City last week, major floods happened in the past, certainly had cascading effects going beyond a single country. And the agents associated in these changes. So this is really complex, and it's cutting across a number of scales. So how do we bring different scientific domains together and combining a variety of geospatial data sources? And normally these data sources are very difficult for scientists to get their hands around. And what are the capabilities needed to integrate such data sets with the domain knowledge, such as through different models on the left side of this slide? And how do we take really a structure of geospatial synthesis across multiple scales and translate them into computable modalities that could be supported by advanced cyber infrastructure and high-performance computing resources? Because this synthesis, if you think about the complexity and scale, would not be just easily taking place from your personal computer and the resources you typically have from your scientific work. So in this case, as in fact, a number of studies we're pursuing as part of this geospatial knowledge hypercube, which you'll hear more from demonstrations and additional talks. A high-level summary here is we're focusing on harnessing massive text data, such as those from literature, from social media, and online news sources, and they have their geospatial signatures, and extracting them to grasp the interconnectedness I was alluded to across multiple scales and across multiple systems. So the idea here is for this complex, non-structured data, they're not always as well represented as typical structured geospatial data itself. Even structured has many challenges. Now you combine this non-structured data. How would you get them organized so that you could conduct analysis through this cubical representations? Now you see, for instance, we're looking at the different impact dimensions, such as human ecosystem and economy, and look at the temporal evolution of the dynamics of the processes associated with the dam failure risk, and of course, the location and the attributes of the dams. So these are some primary dimensions you could imagine you could organize the text data for your downstream analysis. And that's a good segue to this connect approach we're taking within iGuide to link data communities, domain knowledge, and learning resources, and working with our partners. And the key strategy for this connect approach is iGuide platform. And multiple tutorials yesterday already used iGuide platform. Some of you have already learned what that is. And this paper also represents a longer vision for advancing cyber infrastructure to enable data-intensive sustainability sciences. So why we create iGuide platform? Well, this is very much needed to address the complex problems, the convergence challenges we're facing, because we already have a variety of cyber infrastructure resources and capabilities created by disciplinary communities. But these resources and the capabilities, they're not talking to each other easily. But for the challenges and the solution-based thinking we need to engage for the problems like the aging dams and others, you really need to bring these capabilities together and cross-cutting different domains. And how do we present such capabilities to scientists, not in a very complicated way, but rather in an easy to work with way. So that's really the vision of iGuide platform. So this allows us to draw digital resources across different organizations, different infrastructure modalities, and present them to scientists, users, in a easy and friendly way, but also supporting open science. So it's online, and we had a production release recently. You could go to this URL on this slide to test out, and there are multiple components. I will mention a few. And really, if you want to demystify what iGuide platform does, is it gives you this entry to a massive collection of capabilities that basically aggregating different community-based cyber infrastructure capabilities and resources, but in a way so that you would not need to be concerned as scientists or users about how these resources are brought together. And there are multiple layers from left to right to get to those capabilities on the right, so that they're simplified enough so that you could focus on your scientific workflows and knowledge production processes without having to be concerned about addressing the linkages and integration of such capabilities. And of course, our aspiration and the bigger goal is to democratize the modules and the processes we're creating, so that these modules and processes could become standards for the broader community to adopt, to work with the advanced cyber infrastructure. So we're partnering with the Open Geospatial Consortium to do this, and we are now working within the OGC Testbed 19 to come up with initial proof of concept standard focusing on high-performance geospatial computing. These are the modules and processes you could just like use. For instance, you might be familiar with the web mapping service or processing service. So how could we come up with similar services but focused on the access to advanced computing, high-performance computing, and advanced cyber infrastructure capabilities? And this is just one example. We are having to work with a partner like OGC, but we have a variety of partners. I see our colleagues and friends from some of these organizations. And it's really important to foster such partnerships because of the scale and complexity of the challenges we're addressing, and also solution-based thinking. So it's important for academic folks like myself to come up with cool questions, but it's very different to translate the answers to the questions to real-world solutions. So the partnerships here are really critical to go for those solution-based progress. And then one of the approaches we take to engage the broader partnerships is this virtual consulting office. So we conduct this virtual consulting office once every 2 to 3 weeks, and you could go to this online resource to see the topics we covered in the past. And oftentimes it's addressing some cutting-edge technical areas, but we're really open to the broader community to help us select what will be the topics to cover, both in the past and going to the future. Now, this virtual consulting office is presenting to us with valuable feedback from the community, because together we're really pursuing a large space of discovery opportunities. And our uniqueness here is digital transformation of scientific knowledge production, right? Focus on harnessing the geospatial data revolution for sustainability solutions. So we have this resource catalog. It's part of the iGuide platform, where you could search and discover iGuide resources, including data, scientific workflows, and notebooks, and certain basic level models at this stage. And these resources are not only hosted by iGuide itself platform within iGuide, but also linking to other community disciplinary cyber infrastructure capabilities. And we maintain relationships as we go forward. As you can imagine, even for creating domain-specific cyber infrastructure capabilities, this is already very challenging, and iGuide is bringing all this together. So in this regard, it's really a remarkable opportunity, but certainly very challenging to accomplish. So we have a prototype now, and we're also looking for community feedback to advance this capability. So at the same time of pursuing knowledge frontiers, it is important to recognize to prepare the next generation. So how do we go about addressing convergence research problems? And this requires preparation of our workforce to be ready. We cannot afford for different domains of experts to get separate degrees to become familiar with what we do in our fields. So this convergence curriculum sets up a flexible framework to allow folks from different domains to essentially design their learning pathways to get to a point they could contribute to convergence problem solving. So let's say I'm interested in geoethics. I don't have to get a degree. I might go take multiple hours of lessons and modules to combine geospatial with ethics and then plug that into geo AI and data science, and then in turn getting me ready to work with other domain experts to be helpful and supportive to our convergence research and education and problem solving. So now I was talking about it from the very basic foundational knowledge threads to knowledge connection and the frames, and ultimately the knowledge convergence. So for iGuide, we are inviting the community to work with us together to create such modules. These modules could be certificates, badges, credentials, and in a flexible way, augment what is already out there happening, right? Promoting intertransdisciplinary work. So you'll hear more from our colleagues, especially Eric Shook, who's the leader of this activity within iGuide, to go into the details and how you would work with us on this initiative. And diversity is really foundational to what we do within iGuide, and it's manifested in a number of ways. So on the right hand, we had this picture from our summer school done this past August at Boulder, Colorado. So we had amazing participants selected through a very competitive process, had 6 teams. The theme there is just convergence in action, right? And you will hear some presentations from the summer school participants in our program of the forum. But just as a quick number to share with you how proud we are, we had over 60 female grad students and early career scholars represented in a field like this or multidisciplinary community like this. I think that's quite a good indication we're addressing this diversity aspect as we are preparing the next generation to be working and expanding the horizon we have to tackle many, many challenges. I was using the geoethics as an example. I was going through the convergence curriculum. This is a perfect example of intersecting again across several areas and domains. And within iGuide, our focus is to connect to practice and to come up with action-based guidance for the broader community. So this component and initiatives led by Peter Darch at UIUC is really looking at how do we come up with guidelines for us, iGuide project, but also the broader community to take into consideration the ethics, for instance, bias, data selection, in the data manipulation, integration processes, how could it assure there's no harm or there's scientific rigor involved to support the development of solutions, but at the same time is meaningful in the broader societal context. So again, there will be more presentations along this line, and this is really an important part of our iGuide work. So now I'm coming to wrap up this part, just to give you a quick introduction for the State of iGuide. And for this forum, this is the very first one we're doing, and it's quite a fitting title because this place is apparently called the Forum. So we're already day 2. We have, I think, very dynamic, interesting program ahead of us. And if you go to the URL at the bottom of the slide, you should be able to get to the agenda. But taking this opportunity, I also want to welcome those online participants. This is a live streamed, and for our plenary talks, it's live streamed. So appreciate your participation online, and hope you'll continue to engage even after the iGuide forum. So to wrap up, I think the tremendous momentum and the opportunity coming from what we do through iGuide is this holistic integration and synthesis enabled by digital transformation of many fields, not only within iGuide, but beyond. And the critical importance of spatial thinking guiding this innovation and transformation, and that is leading to even new fields, such as geospatial, artificial intelligence, and data science, is still at the very early stage. But at the same time, the development of these fields have huge implications on the creation of solutions for many challenges we're facing, especially in the context of climate change and sustainability. So what we term as geospatial revolution for sustainability, which is really a theme for this forum, and I hope forum is a very open way for us to contribute our thoughts and ideas, and we certainly have our code of conduct here to be really open to each other's thoughts and respect different views, and also come to common ground whenever possible, and at the same time recognize differences. So again, I want to acknowledge our iGuide project team. There's this article written for the Directions magazine describing what we do, sort of lay terms. And the work I'm presenting here is, again, many contributions made by our team and beyond and our community. So very grateful for what you do, our iGuide team. And with that, again, wrapping up this map, connect and discover our key approaches. And certainly my contact information is there, and I'll be around, and feel free to corner me. We might have time for a few questions at this point, and you already heard about the logistics around here. So thank you all very much for being here, and I hope you all have wonderful time and make new connections and have opportunities to work together in the future. Thank you.